Hi, third graders, how's it going? Hopefully everything's going good. If this is your first video with me, feel free at any time to pause it if you need to get up, use the bathroom, get a drink, maybe get a little snack, or maybe there's just something else going on and you need to pause it. Feel free to do that and come back anytime to finish up. Not a problem at all. Hopefully you are doing good out there. Kind of weird times, a lot of different feelings with the odd situation we're all in, but we're all in this together and we'll come out really good. Remember those around you who you can talk to, who you can ask questions, who you can just discuss how you feel. That's really helpful and important. We're going to start today. We're not actually going to do a breathing technique like we usually do. We're going to do something called mindful seeing. This is a little bit tricky because it's not in person, but go ahead. Before, I guess we will take a few breaths together. Just take 3 breaths on your own. Go ahead and do that. And for this game, as you're taking the breaths, I'll keep talking. For this game, I'm going to have you find an object wherever you're at in your house. You don't have to go get it or anything, but you can look at it. I'm going to say one descriptor word. So it might be a color, might be a shape, might be a texture. Find something that fits that, and then try to come up with 4, maybe 5 more words that describe that object. So you'll probably need to pause the video. Okay, so the first descriptor word I'm going to use is green. So find something in your house that's green that you can see right now. You don't have to run around everywhere. Find something that's green and try to think of 4 or 5 more words that describe it. Okay, what did you find? And what are those 5 words? 4 or 5? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. Hopefully you could think of 4 or 5 more words. Let's do one more, and then I'll do one, see if you can kind of play along with this one a little bit. We'll do one more. Find something you would consider soft. So something that's nearby that you could consider soft. Okay? Now come up with 4 or 5 more words to describe that. Sounds good. Okay, hopefully you thought of 4 or 5 more words to describe whatever's soft. So I am seeing something right now that, I'll try to get 4 or 5 descriptors. It's mostly made out of wood. It's got some metal on it. It's blue. That's 3 words. Part of it is kind of long. And it's got strings. Yeah, that's right. It's the ukulele. I figured you could see that one, so why not? Just for fun. So seeing things and realizing that there's more to it than just, oh, it's a blue ukulele. Well, it's got some metal on it, actually got some plastic too. You know, it's got this bridge down here. It's got all kinds of stuff, but you can do that for anything. There's always more words you can use. And I wasn't very good at it today, but we can be creative the longer we think we see differences in things. Okay, for today's circle share, and remember, if you have someone else is watching along with this, feel free to pause the video after I ask the questions and tell each other your answers, so there's some interaction. So for today's question, it's, what is something you are good at? Some examples might be, I'm a good friend, I'm a good cook, I'm a great reader, I'm good at hockey. So it could be those, it might be something else that is not in that list. It could be anything. So go ahead and pause the video and share with someone else who is in the room if someone's there. If not, just think of it on your own, something you're good at. Go ahead, pause the video. Okay, welcome back. For me, something I'm good at is on the list. I'm a good reader. I really like to read. It's one of those things that I enjoy, and I'm good at it. All right, thank you for sharing. Hopefully that went well if you had someone else, or if you didn't, you thought of maybe more than one thing. You might have thought of a few. Okay, for this next activity, don't stand up yet, but make sure you're in a spot where you can easily stand up. I'm going to say some characteristics, and I won't stand up because then I'm going to be out of frame and it's going to be goofy. I'm going to say some characteristics. If this applies to you, then go ahead and stand up. Okay, first one, stand up if you're a girl. Okay, you can sit down. Stand up if you play basketball. Okay, you can sit down. Stand up if you live in town. Okay, you can sit down. Stand up if you are 9 years old. Okay, you can sit down. Stand up if you have brown eyes. All right, you can sit back down. Stand up if you are the baby in the family, so you're the youngest sibling. Okay. And the last one, stand up if you are in 3rd grade. Yeah, should be all of you. I'm making this for a 3rd grade video, unless there's other people in the room watching and they're older or younger. So from that, you have to imagine a little bit, if we were in a classroom, if I was in a 3rd grade classroom, would have everyone stood up? Probably all your classmates would have, especially on that that last one about being in 3rd grade, but maybe the adults would or wouldn't for some of those. It may or may not apply, depending. So today, we're going to talk about diversity, which is kind of one of those words that sometimes makes people feel uncomfortable. But diversity has to do with, I'm going to read off of this like I've been doing because it's stated much better than I'll say it. Diversity has to do with variety and the differences that we have that make us all unique. It's kind of fun being unique. Sometimes we really want to fit in, but sometimes we want to be known for something. Sometimes our personality is just that way, where we might be unique. It could include all the things we named in that game just a minute ago, but it can also include things such as race, culture, strengths, religion, abilities, and the list can go on and on. Interests, I mean, could go on and on. The list could be huge. And diversity is just being okay that people are different. They're going to do their own thing. Okay. Here's some questions about diversity. Is it okay to be different? What do you think? Yeah, it's okay to be different. If we're not hurting anyone else, then yeah, it's okay. Is it okay to notice differences in others? What do you think? Yeah, it's okay to notice the differences in other people. What would happen if we were all the same? Now, I've had some really good answers on this one before from 3rd graders. A lot of times, though, it comes up with, it would kind of be boring, wouldn't it? It would kind of be boring. We'd all do the same thing. It would just, it'd be boring. There would not be neat people who make films. There would not be people who, like, if you're into sports, okay, everyone would play sports, but no one will record that. You could never watch it because no one's recording it if you're all the same and you're not into that. Or maybe there'd be people who would be interested in music, but they're not interested in anything else. See what I'm saying? We would have just such a narrow view of just creative things, not even other things in general. If everyone was like me and I'm not an inventor, there wouldn't be a lot of things around, right? Technology would be kind of low because I'm not an inventor. So it would kind of be boring, I think, if we were all exactly the same. So noticing that someone is different, that was one of the questions. Is it okay to notice differences? Yeah, it's okay. Noticing that someone is different is not the same as criticizing them or being rude to them because they're different. It's good and okay to notice and appreciate other people and celebrate differences as long as we talk about those differences in a respectful way. So if there are differences that you notice, it's okay to ask questions. Make sure you're asking in a respectful way when you ask those questions about differences. But it's okay to notice those things as long as we're not criticizing or judging or treating people unfairly because of differences. And when we treat people unfairly because of differences, real differences, or what we just think, that's other danger too about differences, is sometimes we just think that way and we don't actually find out. When we're treating people unfairly, that's called discrimination. Everyone go ahead and say discrimination. Discrimination. Yep. Discrimination is we don't let others do things or treat them in a mean way because they are different. So we stop them from doing things or we treat them unfairly because they're different. And remember, it could be a real difference or it could be one we perceive, but either way, it probably doesn't matter because they're still human, right? Can you think of an example of something that was unfair because of a difference? Maybe it's because they're a boy or girl. Maybe it was because the clothes they were wearing were different. Or maybe it was the color of their skin. Do you think other students in your school get treated fairly? Think about how they're treated fairly or unfairly. And if that's a tough question, think about, do you ever get left out of stuff or teased a lot? And I don't mean just that little teasing that sometimes friends might do, but something that continuously happens. Do you get left out of stuff or teased? And that would be unfair. Then why do you think people are treated unfairly? Sometimes it's just because of those differences that really don't make a difference, that really don't matter. Yeah, oftentimes it is. What can we do to make sure people are treated fairly and respectfully? What do you think? Pause the video and discuss that. How can you make sure that others are being treated fairly and respectfully? Pause the video. Okay. Some ways that we can do that is we can speak up for other people. We can include everyone, even if sometimes that means we need to rethink what we're doing and maybe do it a different way. We need to try to include everyone. Caring about those who are treated unfairly, that gets us on that path of thinking. Tell an adult or get help when it's unfair. And just learning about other people and those differences that maybe we don't understand by having conversations, asking questions. Like I said earlier, if we notice differences, it's okay to ask questions, especially if we're being respectful. Usually people want to share about themselves and are excited to share maybe some of their personal things or maybe some cultural things or maybe just the things they do different. Yeah, ask in a respectful way. That will help. Okay, for this next part, I have a short, I'm going to use puppets for a scenario, and I don't think I've introduced third graders to these puppets yet, and I will get them ready as I'm speaking here. But what you're going to do is I'm going to have a scenario with the puppets, and it's going to be unfair. You're going to notice that really quickly, and you need to come up with how you could put a stop to it. And there could be a lot of different ways. And that does not mean always arguing or being mean, but how could you put a stop to it? Okay, so my puppet friends, this is Peyton. Hi, everybody. If I don't move my finger, she's always very excited. So, hey, good to be here, Flann. Well, thanks for being here, Peyton. No problem. And this is Frank. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Frank has my voice, kind of. Oddly enough, Frank's mouth does not move the best. He is a different puppet than Peyton. Hey, everybody. Good to see you, third graders. Yeah, it sure is good to be here. Okay, Peyton, Frank, can you help me put on these little scenarios? Sure can. Would love to. Okay, for scenario number 1, we're imagining they're at recess. Hey, Frank, I really want to play football too. You can't play. You're a girl. You're too weak. So that's the scenario. How could that be made so it was fair? If you were a third person, if you were there while Frank and Peyton were having this little discussion and Frank was saying, no, you're a girl, you can't. How could you make that situation fair? Point out it's just a recess, doesn't matter. I knew she's not in high school anymore. She just graduated. But since she was little, since she could be in football, there was a girl that was on the football team and she played through her senior year in high school. So it's definitely doable. It's a broad generalization if we're saying someone's too weak. So just point that out. And it's just a game also, especially at recess. But there might be some other ways you thought of. You can pause the video and think of more. Okay, our second scenario. Are you two ready? Yep, sure am. Me too. Okay, second scenario. Hey, Peyton, I tried out for Peter Pan, and guess what? What? What happened, Frank? I got the part of Peter Pan. You can't be Peter Pan. Peter Pan's white. Do we see how that's discrimination there? So how would you, as someone who is watching that or listening to that, change that so it was fair? Go ahead, pause the video and either discuss or think about it. How could you make that fair? One thing I might do, and I don't know if I would do it then, right in front of both of them, but I would talk to Peyton at some point and just say that, you know what? It's a play. It doesn't really matter who plays Peter Pan. When there's a play or something like that, you pick the best person to play the parts. You don't go off of what you think the person should look like, the character should look like or be like. You pick the person who's going to play that character the best. And just point out that that's, yeah, and some of you probably said it as soon as I did. You could say that's kind of racist. That's not okay thinking. You could also say that because it's not including, it's leaving someone out just because they don't fit into the perception that Peyton had about how that person should look. Yeah, it's definitely being unfair because it really doesn't matter and it doesn't affect anything at all. Okay, that's all I have for you today. It might have been a little shorter. Some of these are hard to do this way, but I'm glad that we spent some time this way. And let's do our closing. I'm remembering to doing it right now. Everyone remember this? Peace, love, respect for everyone. Have a good week and stay safe.